What if I told you that the average man dies long before he's buried? Not physically, but spiritually, emotionally, psychologically. Somewhere between the noise of his 20s and the silence of his 30s, he drowns. Not in work, not in war, but in women, in parties, in pleasure, in lust. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, we talk about masculinity, discipline, and what it truly means to be a man in the modern age. Subscribe and turn on that bell, because what you're about to hear might just change how you look at your entire life. Maybe even save it. Let's begin. They say youth is wasted on the young. But in the case of modern men, youth is not just wasted, it's weaponized against them. Society tells you your 20s are for living your best life. Chase women, pop bottles, stay out late, wake up hungover, swipe, scroll, consume, repeat. But no one tells you the cost of this freedom. No one tells you about the invisible debt you're racking up with every meaningless hookup and every hour wasted on distractions. And by the time you figure it out, it's already too late. Look at history. The Spartans trained boys from age 7 to become warriors, hardened by discipline, not dulled by pleasure. Marcus Aurelius, emperor and philosopher, wrote about overcoming desire, controlling emotion, and focusing on duty before 30. Alexander the Great conquered the known world before turning 33. But today, most men haven't conquered anything. Not their impulses, not their purpose, not even their own time. Why? Because modern culture rewards comfort and punishes purpose. We're told that ambition can wait, that we'll build our legacy someday, that we'll get serious when we turn 30, that it's okay to waste our 20s because we're just figuring things out. But here's the truth no one wants to admit. Your 20s are not a playground. They're the furnace, the fire where either your legacy is forged or your soul is burned to ash. There's a reason the great thinkers, warriors, and inventors started early. Tesla, Edison, Roosevelt, and Jobs. They all treated their youth like a launch pad, not a lounge. Meanwhile, the average guy today is more familiar with OnlyFans than he is with his own father's principles. We are the most connected generation in history. And yet, we're also the loneliest. We chase temporary dopamine instead of permanent purpose. And while we laugh about it on TikTok, deep down there's a quiet desperation, a voice inside that whispers, "This isn't who I was meant to be." But why is lust so powerful? Why does it hijack the potential of so many men? Science has an answer. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter of desire, spikes with novelty, not with value. Every swipe, every pixelated fantasy, every new conquest hits your brain like a drug. Your system gets flooded. And what's worse, your receptors adapt. They need more, stronger, stranger. Soon, nothing real satisfies you anymore. You become a slave to the shadow version of your desires. The illusion of intimacy replaces the discipline of legacy. And every time you give in, you're not just wasting time. You're trading your empire for a moment of emptiness. Cut to reenactment. A young man sits in the dark, lit only by his phone screen. Notifications ping. He swipes through a dating app, his expression blank. Remember Esau from the Bible? He traded his birthright for a bowl of stew. Think about that. An entire inheritance, sold for the satisfaction of a single meal. That's what most men are doing today. Trading their future for fleeting pleasure. Their kingdom for a kiss. Their destiny for dopamine. And this isn't just about sex. It's about what lust represents: impulsivity, escapism, weakness. It's about choosing the easy path over the hard road, the moment over the mission. Men have always been tempted: Odysseus by sirens, Samson by Delilah, Caesar by Cleopatra. But now, the temptations come in infinite supply, and they fit in your pocket. You don't need to be a king to fall. All you need is Wi-Fi. But let me ask you something. What if you decided right now that your 20s were sacred, that they weren't for wasting, they were for building? What if instead of chasing lust, you chased legacy? Instead of women, you chased wisdom. Instead of escaping, you endured. What would your life look like at 30? Now imagine you're 45, sitting alone in your apartment. No wife, no kids, no real accomplishments. Just memories of parties and old text threads from women who don't remember your name. The silence hits different when the music fades. The loneliness becomes unbearable when the high wears off. That's when it dawns on you. You didn't lose your 20s. You sold them. But some of you listening right now already feel it, don't you? That slow dread creeping in. That sense that you're behind. That you've wasted time. Maybe you've been chasing pleasure, drifting through relationships, numbing yourself with content and convenience. But here's the truth. You're not broken. You're distracted. And distractions are the enemy of destiny. The world doesn't need more pleasure seekers. It needs protectors, providers, builders, men who choose principle over popularity, who choose vision over vice, who can delay gratification, sharpen their minds, master their emotions, and build something greater than themselves. That's what legacy is. Not fame, not fortune, but impact. And the most dangerous thing about wasting your 20s, you don't know you're wasting them until they're gone. There's no alarm that goes off, no moment of clarity. It just slips away, day by day, week by week, distraction by distraction. And then one day, you wake up and you realize the man you could have been has vanished. And all that's left is regret. But here's the twist, and this is where you come in. You still have a choice. No matter how far you've drifted, you still have time. Not forever, but maybe just enough. Enough to rewrite your story. Enough to reclaim your fire. Enough to choose legacy over lust. The road to redemption is not paved with perfection. It's built on repentance. Not the kind you shout in a church, but the kind you whisper when no one's watching. The kind that happens in your room at 2 a.m. when you realize the life you're living isn't worthy of the man you were born to be. So let's talk about that man. He's not addicted to lust. He's addicted to greatness. He knows that every hour he trains, reads, builds, saves, or sacrifices, he's stacking bricks on the legacy that will one day shelter his family, his tribe, his name. He understands that lust is loud, but legacy is quiet. It doesn't scream for attention. It whispers through generations. A man who chooses legacy doesn't just think in days. He thinks in decades. He's not trying to impress women. He's trying to inspire sons, to earn the respect of men, and above all, to answer to himself. But this man doesn't just appear. He must be forged. And the forging hurts. There will be days when you feel like quitting. Days when lust claws at your discipline like a beast in the dark. Days when the old life calls you back. The cheap thrills, the flings, the flattery. You'll be tempted to return. But you must remember this. The pleasure is easy. The price is eternal. Let's look at Genghis Khan. A man remembered not for the number of women he conquered, but the empires he built, the strategies he executed, the fear and respect his name still commands centuries later. Or Theodore Roosevelt, who refused a life of comfort and fought through childhood illness, loss, depression, war, and betrayal to become one of the most masculine men in American history. These weren't perfect men, but they were men who understood the clock was ticking, who refused to waste their youth in indulgence, who bled early so they could lead later. Because here's a truth no one dares to say out loud anymore. A man who cannot master his desire will always serve it. He will become a pawn in someone else's game, a slave to advertising, to lust, to shallow relationships, to fake status. He'll spend money he doesn't have to impress people he doesn't respect, to chase women he doesn't even like, just to feel worthy for a few seconds. But deep down he knows it's all a performance, and he's not the lead, he's the clown. Now ask yourself, is that the man you were meant to be? Or were you meant to become the man who walks into a room and doesn't chase attention, but commands it? The man whose silence speaks louder than others boasting? The man who women admire but cannot manipulate, because he cannot be bought with beauty or broken with rejection? The man who builds quietly, leads fiercely, and lives righteously, even when no one is watching. That man is not made in clubs or on dating apps. He is made in the trenches. Early mornings, cold showers, lonely nights, books read instead of Netflix binged, calls to mentors instead of texts to exes. He is made when no one believes in him, not even himself, and yet he shows up anyway.